Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Evening Review. My name is Okin Trading. I'll be your host tonight. And in studio with me tonight is Mr. Bitcoin, Nikolai Tjongarero, the Chief Bitcoin Officer for EasySats, Bitcoin Mining Namibia, and also the founder of Okin Trading Enterprises. Nikolai, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Gito.
Let's start with a little bit of education. Blockchain and virtual assets. What is that?
Well, it's a very long story, which we probably won't have time for the full story of. But so what we call blockchain technology is actually a technology that has been in existence or built upon other technologies from back in like the 50s, already 60s, and built upon to be able to create. It's a ledger. Okay. It's a public ledger when you think about. But when you think about a blockchain, just think about a ledger that you would normally have for accounting, that everybody can view and see the changes to in real time. And as such, it's auditable by everybody. Okay. And that's the way to see an actual blockchain. Whereas the way we now see it with the advent of virtual assets like Bitcoin, it's literally a block of transactions or entries on this blockchain that are linked to each other via the hashing of the previous block. So you'll have a block of transactions, and then you take this and you throw it through a hashing algorithm. It will give you a hash that then links to the next block. So then they build on top of each other like that. I see. And that's why we call it a blockchain.
Okay. And you mentioned Bitcoin, but that's not the only virtual asset. What makes Bitcoin special?
Correct. So firstly, Bitcoin was the first, and it was released as free and open source software, meaning that the entire code was put out, the entire code base, how to create Bitcoin was literally, it's like building a car and telling everybody this is how you build the car if you want to build it. Okay. And then all the rest exist because Bitcoin was built in that way. They were able to make copies of Bitcoin and then change certain things. So Bitcoin came out with no pre-mine, there was no leader, nobody knows who Satoshi was, there's no board of directors, whereas every one of these other coins has that. So if somebody wants to change something, they can. If somebody wants to confiscate your coins, they go to the leader and say, bring me, that back. Bitcoin doesn't allow for that, and that's why it cannot be stopped. So with its decentralization and all of those aspects, it's also the fact that it was built in a way that it is for the people, whereas other people built coins for themselves.
Okay. But it's a virtual currency, right?
It can act as money. Okay. It is, when you look at what makes some money, Bitcoin ticks all those boxes the best out of anything that has ever existed. But it also ticks the boxes out of what would be an actual store of value where you could save in the way of an asset instead of like a house, which is, again, this is property that can be taken from you because it is physical. Whereas with Bitcoin, you'd have to then give up the rights of ownership for somebody to then take that from you.
And can you use it here in Namibia?
That you can. I actually just came from an establishment that accepts Bitcoin for everything on their menu. There's also places, overland rentals for motorcycles. You've got paintball. So the only reason that there are not as many places accepting Bitcoin as other countries is because people haven't said, like, I accept cash, Visa, and Bitcoin. You just have to add the Bitcoin. And in our country, according to our Virtual Assets Act, that is completely legal to do.
Speaking of the Virtual Assets Act, what is the government stance? What's the stance of Bank of Namibia in terms of Bitcoin and virtual assets?
Well, currently, it's still very much in a let's see what this is about and let's allow the populace to utilize this without trying to over-regulate it, as I won't go further than that point. But yes, over-regulation of it to then stifle. So currently the government or the Bank of Namibia's stance as far as the Virtual Assets Act, in my understanding of it, is that people are allowed to utilize Bitcoin as long as the vendor and the customer want to utilize it. That is completely all right. Yet the public must be aware that the Bank of Namibia cannot assist you if something goes wrong, because this is not a system that is their system. So again, it's not illegal to utilize, but you do need licenses for certain activities that you would then do, like holding people's funds or anything like that, which would be the case with Forex or anything else.
You would also have to get a license.
You would have to get a license, a banking license, or in this case, a virtual assets. It's called a VASP, a Virtual Asset Service Provider's license. So you would, and that would depend again, as per the act is written, where you would fall in different categories, whether you would or would not need a license.
And are there currently many companies that have these licenses? Is there a lot of competition?
Well, just the beginning of this year, I think about 5 different companies were named. 2 of them for opening up exchanges.
Okay.
So virtual assets exchanges. I believe Landifa.com is one of them. I can't remember the other company. And then I think there's 3 other companies, but they are more for integration of software that they were trying to build. I'm not too sure. I still have to look up on those companies. I wasn't here when it was announced, but it was in the newspapers that there are some that have applied for their licenses and gotten provisional acceptance for license. And then in the next 6 months, that will
Let's take a step
full.
back to the company that you represent, EasySats. What is that?
So EasySats is a Bitcoin-only initiative where what we endeavor to do is to help people understand what Bitcoin is, how to receive or earn Bitcoin, how to store it securely, and then how to interact with other people utilizing Bitcoin, even without us being present. So it's really a thing of trying to educate and help people understand the use cases that exist, not only internationally, but in Namibia as well.
Okay. And you're also with Bitcoin Mining Namibia. What is Bitcoin mining?
That is correct. So Bitcoin, the way that, think of it from an aspect of gold, for this, to make it easier. When you think about gold mining, there's a lot of effort that goes in. There's a lot of capital expenditure to make sure that you are getting out actual gold, right? So within Bitcoin, because it's a completely decentralized system where you don't have a central authority to dictate to you, Bitcoin in itself has to be able to verify this is real Bitcoin and how does it go into the market. So those miners, which are actually just computers that do nothing else but mine Bitcoin in the sense of trying to figure out a certain amount of a nonce, which is like a number that they're trying to get to. Think of it like you're trying to buy a lottery ticket and you keep going back and saying, is this the number? Is this the number? Once you've actually gotten the number, it's because of the work that you've done to get to the number. And then people can say, okay, this matches up. You win the reward, which is Bitcoin. And then you're the person, as the miners, that sell Bitcoin to the rest of the exchanges and everything. That's how the everyday person gets it. It goes all the way down from that sale of winning that reward. Now, you can be a Bitcoin miner. You can buy your own miner. You can put it up. You can, do industrial size mining. Countries are mining. And in that, earning Bitcoin that they either sell out into the market or hold as an asset for that country or company.
Very interesting. I think we've given our viewers a little bit of an education, but just one more thing before we go to a commercial break is what's the value of a Bitcoin now?
Currently, Bitcoin's sitting at 1.8, or just over 1.8 million Namibian dollars for a full Bitcoin, or around 90, I think it's 96, 95,000 US per Bitcoin. But again, you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. You can earn or buy smaller amounts that are called Satoshis.
Okay.
So again, 1 Namibian dollar will probably get you like 200 Satoshis or something like that. So you could go to, any company or a person and say, hey, I've got 50 Namibian dollars. I'd like to buy some Bitcoin, and then negotiate that rate off of things like Vexel and peer-to-peer marketplaces as well.
Awesome.
So they exist, yes.
Awesome. It's very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay with us after this commercial break, because then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what's happening in this case in Namibia at the moment and the world. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Evening Review. My name is Okin Trading. I'm your host today. And in studio with me is Nikolai Tjongarero. He is Mr. Bitcoin, and we're talking all things Bitcoin. Nikolai, what are the restrictions to getting involved with Bitcoin? Do you need some kind of special gold-plated bank account? Do you need to have 15,000 disposable income? Or how do you go about getting involved?
So no, you don't need a gold-plated bank account or any special clearance from anybody. The whole point of how Bitcoin was created was to make sure that anybody anywhere in the world would be able to send or receive Bitcoin from anybody else anywhere from in the world. So again, if I'm sitting here and let's say I have a supplier in Beijing and I need to pay them, I could pay them in Bitcoin and they could release those goods. So all you would need is literally a device. It used to be a smartphone or a computer. Now there's a guy in South Africa that created a way for you to use a Tamagotchi, so a non-smartphone, where you use USSD codes to send and receive Bitcoin without internet access.
Okay.
But the way you would do this normally is you just download an application on your phone. the same way you would download Facebook. It takes less time than signing up for Facebook to be able to install this. And then you just write down your 12 or 24 words if it's a self-custodial wallet. And then from there, you would literally send somebody your receive address. You click on receive, send it to them. They send you Bitcoin. The other way is that you would purchase your Bitcoin, whether it would be something through something like landifa.com or your Binance accounts, or even through EasySats when we do have Bitcoin available for people to buy at low amounts. We normally tell people, if you are a smoker and you smoke cigarettes, a loose cigarette is something like $5 Namibian, meaning if you smoke 4 cigarettes, you could have bought Bitcoin for $20. So it's again a thing of what are your incentives and your goals on what you're trying to do. But yes, you need no more than 20, even 10 Namibian dollars. I've had people that have given $5 Namibian worth of Bitcoin to, for things that they've done.
Yeah.
Whether it be a guy that's watching my car and I'm trying to show him what it is, or somebody that I'm just trying to understand, what is Bitcoin. So all you need is a smart device or even a non-smart device, mobile airtime, and then either a way to earn it or purchase it, which aren't difficult at all. As EasySats, that's what we're here for, to show people is just how easy it is to get a hold of Bitcoin.
Awesome. Let's talk about Bitcoin in a global perspective. These days there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. There's some crazy things happening, and one of the things that, in terms of international relations, is talk about the supremacy of the US dollar and trying to unseat the US dollar, which of course America's new president is totally against. But I'm trying to figure out where Bitcoin falls in all of this currency fluctuations. How does it fit in?
So a lot of people see Bitcoin as a safe haven. In 2008, when we went through the global monetary crisis,
yes,
that was created in America through their rental spaces,
yes,
right? Now, Bitcoin was literally created as a direct reply to this, to say we can't have central authorities that get to dictate what we need to pay while they can just print it out of thin air,
yes,
and then continue in this manner. So Bitcoin is literally there to de-seat the US dollar and every other fiat currency, because it is saying we're giving power back to the people that have put in the effort to earn this value. So if you think about value as Namibian dollars, if you go and you put in your 40 hours or 20 hours a week to be able to earn this money,
yeah,
that other people can print and that they can debase by printing more and putting it into circulation, that means that your value can be eroded,
yes,
by somebody else's actions. And in that, Bitcoin comes and says, no, we don't like that. How about we take that value, we purchase something that is Bitcoin that can be used globally at any point in time with final settlement.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a third party to say, yes, this is or this isn't. And then you can utilize this the same way as you could a physical cash. And that's why when you look at the white paper of Bitcoin, it says Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
Yeah.
That is what it is meant to be. It's meant to be the betterment of the old system. We're not trying to integrate into the old system. We're replacing the old system by a system that holds everybody accountable globally, but that you can control.
And how would you compare it in terms of a storage of value to, say, gold? Some people say you got to buy gold if you want to keep your value.
So the problem with gold is, again, if you look back into 1937 or 1934, what happened in the US, they confiscated the gold.
Yeah.
Right? If you look back to 1974, 1974, when Nixon decided that they're depegging from the gold standard and then making themselves the US standard.
Yeah.
So if you held gold, what was the value for that? And let's say you're in Namibia, you want to pay somebody in Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah.
Right? But that person needs the money today. Like, how do you do that with gold? This is not something that you can just move across borders as easily. Then people will say, we have things like PayPal. Okay, well, if I try, or bank accounts, if I try to pay from FNB to Nedbank over the weekend, and let's say I'm in Namibia and my child's in South Africa and needs assistance, they're not getting that money till Monday.
Yes.
So again, with Bitcoin, if I do it on chain, it's 10 to 15 minutes. If I do it via Lightning, it's instantaneous.
Okay.
Right? Which is just the second layer built on top. So this technology was built to make things easier, but also more sovereign, right? So then you're more of a sovereign individual or a sovereign state that is able to say, hey, okay, I see the Bank of International Settlement and the IMF are saying this, but I'm not using their money. If you look at Bhutan, the country of Bhutan that nobody even knew was mining Bitcoin, they hold more than El Salvador that was buying a full Bitcoin a day for two whole years.
Okay.
So it's, again, you don't have to tell anybody. You can literally just earn your Bitcoin. And in a country like Namibia, where we have a Virtual Assets Act, which tells you that it's not illegal to do this, I think a lot of us need to take advantage of the opportunities in front of us.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that there are countries that are also collecting Bitcoin, and I imagine trading in Bitcoin. So it's not just individuals or organizations, but even sovereign states.
Yes.
And but there is scope for individual to trade in Bitcoin.
Oh, of course. I mean, if you look at, so I'm one of the individuals that globally I earn in Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
For goods and services, as I've always told people, you can, for the goods and services you already possess, put those out for people to pay you in Bitcoin to utilize. But as I did that, I was like, okay, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin back.
Yeah.
I want to be able to utilize it. I want to create a circular economy whereby I can help other people earn Bitcoin from the Bitcoin that I earn.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we've now recently had, I think, the third place in Windhoek come on board that is willing to accept Bitcoin. We're speaking to some guys that own car dealerships and even car washes that, because again, you could go out and buy the Bitcoin, or you already own the car wash.
Yeah.
Why don't you just accept Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And now you're earning the Bitcoin instead of having to go and spend more value to go and get it. You already have the value, and people are willing to pay you in that. Why not just accept Bitcoin? So there are places in Windhoek and in Greater Namibia, in Walfish Bay, there is a overland rental for motorcycles that's also come up. There's a woman somewhere that's doing Pilates for Bitcoin.
Okay.
I know a guy that built a studio in Grunwald, a music studio, that he shows guys how to put up the music for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And at the same time also how to not just monetize it, but also market it to a international audience that's just looking for new people, looking for new music. And again, you could wait to never get paid and be a broke artist, or you could monetize it using something like Bitcoin, as easy as Bitcoin, and let people give you value for your value.
Wow. Now, Nikolai, you're the 8th most popular Bitcoin promoter in Africa, according to some recent accolade that you've achieved. Previously, you were the 10th. Tell us a bit more about your promotion work and your efforts to empower people about Bitcoin.
Okay, so that the award actually is the it's from the top 20. So it's for the most influential African Bitcoiner.
Okay.
I was 2024 in Nairobi. They named me the eighth most impactful Bitcoiner. Last year, or the year before, 2023, I was number 10.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So this comes about by literal Africans around the globe voting for who they think has done the most impact for the year. And in which way.
Yeah.
So again, I'm very active on Twitter. I'm always in debates with altcoiners, people that use other virtual assets that aren't Bitcoin, because I'm Bitcoin only.
Yeah.
I did dabble in the beginning, thinking I was going to find the second Bitcoin, lost money, made a little bit of money, but understood from studying why that is such a risk that you don't have to take once you actually understand just Bitcoin itself. But it's more about, I lecture for a women's only consortium in Nairobi, or in Kenya, or East Africa now, called Bitcoin Dada. I just hosted the Adopting Bitcoin conference in Cape Town. They only have 3, one's in Netherlands, one's in Cape Town, one's in El Salvador. And last year I was a speaker. At Adopting African Bitcoin conference, also in Nairobi. Was in Prague with the Treasury Academy. So for me, it's about making sure Namibians don't get left behind. I'm not doing as good as a job as I would like to, because we are a bit lacking, but now people are starting to ask more questions. People are starting to be more inquisitive on, okay, what can this Bitcoin thing do for me beyond just, I can buy it and just hold it. How can I earn it? How can it help with how I see my art and how other people see my art or my business, and how do I get global customers from this, as opposed to only being exposed to people within the networks that I already am. So this is what I try to show people, especially artists. Again, one of the ways that I started earning Bitcoin was through my podcast. I was the first African podcaster continent-wide to be paid in Bitcoin. So from that, it's a thing of trying to show people, how can you get or gain true economic emancipation without waiting for somebody to give it to you.
Awesome.
And I think Bitcoin is the way that Namibians are able to do that.
And what are your plans for this year in terms of your promotion and education work?
Oh, awesome question. So we're actually hosting we do free educationals. It's called Treasury Academy Namibia. Treasury Academy is actually from Prague, but they do globally a bunch of them, and then they just find people that they think would be able to do the best of these educational. So we're doing one now in March. We'll do the first one for the year. It's a three-part course over 3 Saturdays. We'll be doing it at Jacob Merengu School in Karatura again. We will be putting out those dates. We're doing just before that an event on Vexel, which is a completely open source and free and open source marketplace where you could even say, hey, I have this pen I want to sell for Bitcoin or eggs, and people will then respond. So we're doing a whole event on that. And mainly what I want to do this year is inform people how to utilize the tools that have already been built in Bitcoin. If you want to be somebody that wants to build these tools or find out how to build them, giving you those resources at meetups, at workshops that we'll be hosting at one of the venues that actually accepts Bitcoin for all of their goods and services. So that will probably be at the Wolf Shack or they're always the ones that are most welcoming to Bitcoin. So yes, there's going to be a lot of events. We are looking to go outside of Windhoek. So it's not just Windhoek based. We're looking to go to the coast. We're looking to go to the north, to the south. And of course, just see how people can implement and come up with new ideas themselves. We had somebody from Greenwell, Karatura, sell 50 CDs on Vexel, physical CDs for Bitcoin.
Okay.
I don't even own a CD player, but he managed to sell 50 of them. And that sparked an entire conversation across Europe of what else can we sell.
Yeah.
Our guys are selling BMWs and horses and, things that they raise, chickens, because they can.
Wow. Do you think that there's any potential for this technology to help us as Namibia with the big problems we face? Unemployment, inequality, and the difficulty in earning money.
I do think so, and I think it even goes beyond. I think when we talk about what our parents fought for, freedom of determination, the freedom of an entire country,
Yes.
Whereas our fight is currently, and my true honest opinion is the fight for economic emancipation for everybody.
Yeah.
And that fight takes on a lot of different forms. I think Bitcoin is a means whereby you can be sitting. Again, I know a guy that he works as a car guard. He heard me speak about Bitcoin and told me, no, but I also want to play games on my phone to earn Bitcoin to then utilize to sell. Because again, you can earn the Bitcoin, use the Bitcoin to buy mobile airtime and sell that airtime at a markup to people. Now, let's say it was $5. The person wanted you sold it for $7 Namibian. You just made $7 full by playing a game on your phone that you were already going to play.
Yeah.
So again, it's about looking at the opportunities that are already there, but it's just how you monetize those opportunities is now an international way.
Yeah.
Before, we would have all loved to be paid in US dollars.
Yeah.
But now, how many US dollars is it for one Bitcoin?
Yes.
So now, of course, you'd want the Bitcoin, but you can get the Bitcoin. And you can legally spend the Bitcoin within this country. You cannot do that with US dollar.
Yes,
It is
yes.
not a tender that you can spend here.
Yes.
So again, you're looking at how this tool can move different aspects. So again, if you're unemployed, but you have skills, you're unemployed because in this country, nobody can employ you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean globally somebody cannot employ you.
Yes.
So now you need to go out and say, okay, I have these skills. Where are the opportunities that are willing to pay for remote work in Bitcoin so that I can earn while I'm still in Namibia?
Yes.
I don't have to leave the continent and immigrate somewhere else so that I can get value for my value.
And just in terms of that, in terms of our Namibian reality, you don't need to be a party card holder for a certain political party, or you have to be born in a certain family or speak with a certain accent. You can be anybody.
You can be anybody. You
don't need the connections.
You really do not. The only connection that you need to be able to utilize Bitcoin is firstly you're being inquisitive.
Yeah.
Right? We always say when you come to Treasury Academies, the only thing you pay is attention.
Okay.
If you're willing to pay attention for 3 hours, we'll teach you for 3 hours. Right? That is what this reality is. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that show up for the 3 hours
Yes.
for 3 weeks in a row, and then they go out and then they build something with that. With Bitcoin, it is truly a thing of your limitations are only what you impose upon yourself.
Uh-huh.
Everything else is just noise. It's just people trying to either tell you, no, you can't because they want to buy the Bitcoin before you. Remember, it's a scarce resource. There's only so many.
Yeah.
Right? You've got countries that are mining. I think last year Ethiopia earned like over $50 million US just from using the resources of the country to mine Bitcoin.
Okay.
Right. So again, why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
Bhutan did it without telling anybody.
Yeah.
They just started.
Yeah.
Right. Now you've got nation states around the world, in Qatar, everywhere is looking at how do we mine Bitcoin, because there is a race.
Yeah.
There's only so many. Now my thing is, Namibians, we already know that we have high unemployment. We already know that people are out there looking for something.
Yes.
But the solution is there. It's just about the fact that a lot of us still don't know that it is not seen as a scam globally anymore. It's
Yes.
been proven that it's not
proven.
a scam. But
Nikolai, I
we
need to
move
stop
that.
you there because our time is almost up. But I really appreciate your passion and all the effort that you have done to inform people, to empower themselves. So please check it out for yourself, find out what it's about, and look at what opportunities it might have for you. If it's not for you, find something else, because you need to inform yourself, to empower yourself. This has been the Evening Review. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Good night.